So what are you mostly excited for?
I'm most excited to go on Banshee, which is their new, well, still new-ish inverted coaster.
My excitement was short-lived. This will probably upset a lot of people, but hear me out on this. Banshee at Kings Island is one of the most uncomfortable roller coasters I have ever ridden, and I was shocked when I realized that. I made my first ever trip to Kings Island in June of this year, and in addition to legendary coasters like Beast and Diamondback, I was actually most excited to ride Banshee. B&M inverts are some of my favorite roller coaster models, and here was one of the most recent ones to be built, one I had heard nothing but praise for. Walking up to the entrance, it was amazing to finally see in person. The fog at the entrance wasn't running, but that was okay. I loved the graveyard in the queue, and the way the station was designed to resemble an old church. So far, so good. Once I got into the station, I noticed the one point of criticism I had heard about Banshee, the B&M vest restraints. I wasn't too concerned about them though, as that meant there would be no headbanging. I took a seat in row 3 since it was pretty much a walk-on, and though the restraints were snug, it wasn't uncomfortable by any means. The train dispatched and my excitement was through the roof during the ascent. The scream of the Banshee at the top of the lift was also an excellent touch. But the ride that followed was horrendous. Now I know what you're gonna say. Banshee probably just had that familiar B&M rattle to it and I'm just being dramatic. No, it was much worse than that. Banshee was the first B&M that ever physically hurt me to ride. Every inversion felt like being shaken up inside a box of rocks, and though those vest restraints did eliminate any headbanging, Banshee absolutely murdered my thighs. Instead of throwing my hands up before each inversion, I had to brace for impact as the train shook so much you'd think it was tumbling down a hillside. That final inline twist was especially painful since the train's speed is decreased before going through it. The train pulled into the station and I was in disbelief. How could one of the newest B&M inverts be that awful? Against my better judgment, I considered that maybe I just got a bad seat or the train I was on wasn't running correctly. I immediately got back in line and chose a seat towards the back, and since they were running 2 trains, I got on the other operating train that day. The problems persisted as each inversion once again proceeded to grind my legs to a pulp. This proved it. Something was wrong. There is no reason why such a recent coaster should be this uncomfortable to ride, especially a B&M. I did end up taking 2 additional rides on Banshee later that day, once in the front row and once in the very back. The rattling continued, and although it was slightly more tolerable in the front, it was very much still there. I was dumbfounded. How is it that Great Bear, which is 16 years older than Banshee, still feels glossy smooth, but Banshee feels like driving 95 miles an hour on a gravel driveway? Did I just get a few bad rides? It's a shame too, because Banshee has a lot of things going for it. The theming is great for Cedar Fair standards, and the elements are in an order that you wouldn't normally find on a B&M invert, especially that pretzel knot. Banshee has only been operating for 5 years, and yet it feels like it's been running for 30 with no retracking at all. Sadly, this is one of my least favorite steel coasters I've ridden, but I have to ask, if anybody watching this video has ridden Banshee this year, please tell me in the comments if it was as uncomfortable for you as it was for me. I really wanted to love Banshee, I still do, and I plan to try it again next year once Orion opens. For now though, the coaster has gotten unbearably rough and I'm afraid it won't improve anytime soon, although I really hope I'm wrong on that. Anyway, please comment your thoughts on Banshee down below and I'll reply to as many as I can. I appreciate you all listening to my rant, and I'll have plenty more coaster-related content here soon on Rampaging Rex Productions. Hopefully, content that's a lot more positive.